Okay, so here are the three colors I'm going to be using for my balloon garland. There goes Simpertex White inside of Simpertex Satin Pearl. I have Calisand Chrome Gold and Tuftex Lace. So just to show you how I double stuff the white into the pearl, I'm just going to get the white balloon. You can put it on a pen, a pencil, a straw, and just stuff it into the pearl balloon. And that's how you double stuff. So I'm going to start by blowing my balloons up. Those are my 11-inch Tuftex Lace balloons. I'm going to blow them up, I'm going to round them out, and then I'm going to tie them together into a dupe. Then I'm going to twist my dupes into clusters, and make sure you double twist the dupes so they don't pop out of the clusters. And I'm making small clusters of just 3 dupes or 6 balloons. Now notice how all of the dupes in this cluster are 11-inch balloons. But I'm going to make a few of the clusters that's going to include a 17-inch dupe. So you see me adding a 17-inch dupe right there, and I'm just going to double twist it into the cluster. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a 260Q balloon, and I'm going to attach my clusters together. I'm not doing the necktie method with this for a couple reasons. Number one, if you've seen in previous videos where I've worked with like lace balloons or the pearl balloons, which I'm also going to be working with in this balloon garland, the necks can be very rigid and can be hard to tie together. So a lot of times I do use 260Qs to attach those particular balloons. The regular color balloons don't give me much problems, and the chrome balloons, the necks are very stretchy. But with the lace and the pearl balloons, they can be very rigid. And then also, I want flexibility, because when I get to the location, I may change something up. And so by doing the 260Q as opposed to tying the necks of the balloons together, it allows for more flexibility. I can always untie this 260Q or just cut it and make it very easy for me to detach the clusters from one another. So I'm going to go ahead on, and I'm going to take a 260Q, and I'm going to take one of the clusters with only the 12-inch balloons, and I'm going to double tie the 260Q onto here. I'm going to press my cluster down on this chair. Then I'm going to put another cluster on top. Try to fit the balloons kind of in the gaps here, so you can get it nice and tight, push them down. I'm going to take my 260, pull it up, and I'm just going to wrap it around a couple balloons in the top cluster, and then go down all the way to the bottom cluster, and wrap it around a few balloons in the bottom cluster. Come back up one more time, wrap the 260Q balloon around the balloon, and then I'm just double tying the 260Q into itself. You can see that I just double tied the 260Q into itself. That's how I'm attaching these clusters. So I'm going to take another 260Q. If you want to, you can tie a few 260Qs together and make the string longer. I'm going to fit it into a gap somewhere. Press it down, get it already, fitted into the gaps. Pull my string up here over the top cluster. I'm going to wrap it down here. And you don't have to go all the way to the bottom. You just want to get a couple of the balloons in that middle cluster here, so you can be attaching the top cluster to the existing balloon garland. So make sure you get some balloons in that middle cluster so that the top cluster is attached to the garland. So get it in at least 2 to 3. You can turn it around, twist it, and then bring it back up. And then you can kind of push the clusters into themselves to make sure it's nice and secure. So now I'm adding in my clusters with the 17-inch balloons, and I flip the cluster over to make sure that the 17-inch balloon is on the bottom. And I'm just going to do the same thing. Just wrap that 260Q string around a couple balloons in the cluster directly below it, and then over the new cluster that I'm adding. And you just want to make sure that you're pressing the clusters against each other nice and firm, and that you're filling in those gaps while you are attaching them to the garland. So I'm attaching one more 260Q on there because I'm going to add one more cluster with the 17-inch balloons. And I'm trying to make this balloon garland look like it's getting bigger as it goes downward, because I'm going to have a champagne bottle balloon at the very top, and I'm going to make it look like the balloons are pouring from that champagne bottle balloon. I'm trying to show you as good as possible. So I wrapped it around and tied it through, and then you want to double tie it and do it again, and then there you go. It's tied into itself. So this is my balloon garland base. I call it my balloon garland base because this is what I'm starting with. When I get to the location, I'm going to add some more clusters, but I usually don't try to make the whole balloon garland before I get there because I may not have enough room in my car. So, you know, I want to just get stuff started to save time. So I make a balloon garland base, and this is what I'm going to be adding my clusters to. So I'm at the location and I'm setting up my walls. I'm going to put my cover over my arch wall frame. And then I made an open center arch wall right there. And that's where the balloons are going to be going through, like they're, you know, flowing through that open arch. So I'm going to take a command hook that I put some painter's tape on, and I'll show you right there. I'm going to put it on the back of that open wall, and then I tied a 260Q to the back of that. And that's where I'm going to attach the balloons right there at the top. And then I tied a 260Q around the brick, which I'm going to put underneath the balloons at the very bottom because I don't want those balloons to start blowing with the wind. And then I'm just going to tie the other end of that 260Q balloon around the balloon in the base of that garland. So now I'm adding clusters using 260Q balloons. I'm adding small clusters of 4 balloons or 2 dupes. And I'm just twisting those 260Q balloons around the balloon garland. I'm also adding some small clusters using the necktie method, and that's the method I normally use. I just take one neck from one balloon in one cluster and find the neck in the balloon garland and tie those 2 necks together. So that's how I normally do it. But again, I was using the 260Q method because I wanted flexibility. So now I'm just filling up this balloon garland, making it look like the balloons are pouring down through that open arch. I'm adding on my clusters of chrome balloons as well as those pearl white clusters throughout the balloon garland. Notice that I started my balloon garland base with just the lace balloons and then added the other colors onto the balloon garland. I did that because I wanted to make sure that the colors were equally represented throughout. So the lace was my base and the other balloons were the accents. So now I'm going to use some glue dashes to attach this champagne bottle balloon to this balloon garland. And then I'm going to take a dupe of lace balloons. I'm going to tie a 260Q balloon around it, and then I'm going to make a loop, as you can see. Then I'm going to take a backdrop clip and put the loop into that clip. And then I'm going to attach it to the arch wall in the back, right behind that champagne bottle balloon. Then I'm going to use glue dashes to attach the bottle balloon to those balloons in the very back, because I want to make sure that it's nice and secure onto this balloon garland. Now I'm going to be adding some small 5-inch clusters using the 260Q balloons, and I'm just going to wrap that 260Q around a balloon in the balloon garland. And I'm just going to add my 5-inch clusters to fill in gaps and add complexity to this balloon garland. Now, one thing I did want to note, if you notice all the way at the top of the garland by the champagne bottle balloon, there's a lot of small 5-inch balloons. I did that to make it look like bubbles. So if you want to accomplish a pouring effect, you want the balloons to be smaller at the top and get bigger at the bottom. That's why I started my base with the 11-inch and ended with the 17-inch balloons. Now at the very bottom, I wanted to add this bigger balloon, but it didn't look right to me, so I ended up adding some clusters of 17-inch balloons. So here is the finished product to this bridal shower setup. Now I did a balloon column and a welcome sign and a mini balloon garland around it. The balloon column was supposed to be organic. Now it came out a bit more curvier than I wanted, and that's because I was working on limited time and fighting the wind. Apparently there was supposed to be a hurricane somewhere around the Southern California area, which is very, very, very rare. We don't get hurricanes over here. Now, there was no hurricane in this location, but it was pretty windy, so I was fighting on limited time. But overall, the decorations came out great and the client was pleased, so I'm happy. And these are just pictures of the work. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, go ahead on and like it, and please subscribe, and you'll get notifications on future videos on balloon and event decor. And until next time, I will see you guys later.